Hi folks, one of the most popular products we sell here at G&S are the hose reels, and we often get asked how to actually load them. Now there are several sort of variables in terms of these kind of hose reels, in terms of the DN sizing of the hose. So obviously the heavier hose, the slightly stronger your spring needs to be. So we're going to start with a 20 metre hose, and we'll show you how we do that now. Okay folks, so the tools you're going to need, 10mm spanner. We've got a 17mm spanner, we've got two 22mm spanners, a 5mm Allen wrench, and probably some bolts, M10 bolts, just to secure it to the vise. You could get away with some clamps or some way of actually securing it to the bench. So this particular model is the 75020 model. This is suitable for DN8 and DN10, particularly the DN10, with the depth of the actual hose and the actual length determines how much we can get on here. So it's particularly suitable for DN8 and the DN10 hose. So basically what we're going to do is put this hose onto here. As a rough idea, it's about a turn per meter of hose. So if we look at the hose, per meter is 1 revolution on this actual hose reel. There are some variables depending on the weight of the actual hose, whether it's reinforced or not. But as a rule, it's 1 revolution, probably 1 or 2 turns either way, depending on the actual weight and length, size, obviously, of the hose. So what we've done first is we're going to secure it to the bench. We're going to use these M10 bolts. We've actually got 2 in either end here because we're pulling against the actual hose reel. So I'll just show you. We're just obviously going through on this side. So we've got 1 bolt in there, put it into there on this side. And I'm just going to secure it up. It doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to secure it to the bench. Right. So what we've done now is give it 1 revolution until you hear it click. So that's basically your starting point. So it's a good idea just to give it 1 turn, make sure the ratchet's working okay. And that's basically your default setting. So now we're going to give it 20 turns because we've got a 20 metre hose. We're going to give it 20 turns plus 1 just for good measure. So we'll just count when it clicks. You're just basically counting. You could actually mark, it's not a bad idea just to mark the hose reel, but obviously you do have a aperture here, as it were, to put the hose through, so you can use that as well. So we've got 1. 20. So I've got 20 turns on there. Now we get a 10mm spanner, and on this side of the actual hose reel, we've got an M10 bolt like that. We just need to remove that, and that allows us access inside the actual hose reel. Down there. There we go. Take that off. Take the door off. So the next thing we need to do is unravel the hose. Now, most of the time we need to remove this cuff, and that just lets it sit inside much better, allows you access through. So you would cut that cuff off normally with a knife and just cut it through. Just be very careful, but cut that through and remove that completely. You can just see through here, that's the actual outlet for the hose, and I've just taken it off the spring so I can see it direct through so the hose will go through the roller here and then through there. So I'm holding it with my hand, but what I can also do now is lock it out. So I'm going to use the spanner just to lock this 17mm bolt, and that just secures it in that position and it won't go anywhere. Okay, so what we're going to do is fit the hose with the swivel to the actual hose reel. Now there's a number of ways we can actually lock this into the thread. We've got some Lux seal, which is 8354. This is the green stuff. This is the permanent sealer, and this will lock it permanently actually into the female side of the hose reel. The other option is we can use a Doughty seal. This is a Dow 07 seal, and that simply fits onto the actual male part of the swivel like that, and that creates a seal and just helps lock it as well, lock it in place. So what we're going to do now is put this actually into the female part of the hose reel, and it's a little bit fiddly to do, but so we've got to
just basically turn that into the pipe itself. Spot on. So now we can turn it in. The spanner. So I've done that up finger tight, and now we can get a spanner and just lock that into place. So we've got a 22mm spanner, and we're just gonna tighten that up like that, so it's just nicely firmed up. And you notice that the swivel will still turn freely. So the next thing we're going to do, because we left the cuff on, in some cases you can on this particular hose reel leave the cuff on in place, and I would definitely recommend that just to stop it damaging the hose, because it is going to bend, kink round a little bit like that. So we can put that through your roller guide, in through the aperture, and there it is in place. So before we actually put it onto the thread, we can either use the green lock thread or we can use the Doughty seal. Now I've got a slight problem here in the sense that we can't directly put this in until I move the hose reel back, so it's just a case of simply moving the hose reel back a little bit like that till it's in line. And now, because I've got a swivel, I can turn the swivel onto the actual hose. And you should be able to do this with your fingers relatively easily. And again, with a 22mm spanner, I can keep turning it on. And there you go. That's it. That's it done. Job done. Again, 10mm spanner. Get that nice and tight. Just tighten that up. Okay, so it's nice and tight. Now we're going to go around to the other side of the hose reel. So again, really, you can use the hose in this case. We can get a hold of the hose, and now we can release the tension off the actual spring. So just give it probably a half turn, something like that. And now we can keep the tension on with and just start to reel it in. Now when you're loading actual hose, try and keep it as neat as you can, so you're letting it wind up so that the hose sits over to one side, and eventually you can feed it on with your hands. And again, this is where gloves are important, more so on a worn hose. You shouldn't really probably use a damaged hose on a hose reel, but so don't let the hose slip through your hands. Just gradually walk it on, and it will self-load. And now we're using the spring; it's feeding itself on. Okay, brilliant. Now we've got to an end. So we've got about 1 metre length there. I mean, it'll take it all the way, depending on where you want the actual stop. So what we're going to do now is put the stop on the hose. So I can pull it out now, and it'll lock there. And now we can use the actual stop, hose stop. Obviously these actually fit using the adjustment. You've got some grommets here. These are obviously designed for various sizes of hose. And we just simply put the grommet on, put the clamp on, and we use 2 Allen bolts, and these just simply nip the clamp. You know, obviously depending on the orientation of the hose reel, you might have it flat on a bench, or if you have it set 90 degrees so it's coming down, you can set this accordingly for your application. Okay, so now we've got the hose stop on. You can adjust this anywhere on the actual length of your hose, depending on how you wanted it. If you know the orientation of the hose reel could be quite high up, and it could be 90 degrees to this. some people mount them on benches, but obviously it could be mounted on a wall. So you can see how the hose, this is a DN8 hose, and you can see how it's actually filled up the aperture, as it were, of the hose reel itself. So we'd definitely recommend a DN8 on this, but you could use something like a DN10 if you wanted to. But you may want to give it a few extra turns on the spring tension just to cope with the extra weight and obviously size of the hose. But that's basically how you safely load auto winding hose reel.